Last year, Justin Jefferson came less than 200 yards away from getting 2,000 receiving yards in a single season. And today, we're going to be talking about how he might just be able to actually break that 2,000-yard mark in this coming season. And just jumping right into it, Justin Jefferson was probably the best receiver in the league last year, at least in my opinion. I think he is probably the best in the league. I expect, honestly, pretty much the same thing this year, but maybe even more touchdowns, honestly. And I would not be surprised if he breaks the 2,000 yards, which is crazy to say. But there's a lot of reason to believe that. Looking at last year, we are going to do a quick recap over what went down last year. So just hopefully you guys are able to see that. Okay. Something really crazy about Justin Jefferson's kind of game log here is he has more games with over 100 receiving yards than games where he didn't break 100 receiving yards, and one of those is 98. So if you want to count that, and that's like I think 11 100 plus yard receiving games, one of which being 223 yards, which came against Detroit, in a game that the Lions actually ended up losing, or the Vikings, I'm sorry, actually ended up losing. But either way, they opened up against Green Bay, and Justin Jefferson had 184 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. His only game all year to actually have 2 touchdowns. And after that, he actually went on a bit of a drought as far as touchdowns go. But honestly, during that time, they went on a massive winning streak. So I'm sure he prefers winning over his own kind of touchdowns there, but he didn't score again until they played Washington, a game they won 20-17. And then of course the crazy game against Buffalo they won in overtime, where Jefferson also had 193 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, including the crazy one-handed catch on like 4th and 17 to keep the Vikings in the game. And then of course, after a Josh Allen fumble on the 1-yard line, resulting in a Vikings touchdown, they did end up winning that game. But that was a really crazy game to watch. The major outlier is the Dallas game, where they lost 40-3, and Jefferson only had 33 receiving yards. I have no idea what happened that game, but that is just like so weird to look at on this like game log, I guess. It just really sticks out, but that's probably a game that all Vikings fans and players would like to forget. Moving on from there, the Vikings actually finished the year with a pretty good record after winning a ton of games within 1 score. And, they finish out, they win against the Bears. Again, Jefferson doesn't do a whole lot. They probably weren't even playing their starters. I don't remember, but I assume they weren't really playing their starters that game. And then they go to the postseason and play the Giants. Now, this was a team they had just previously beat a few weeks prior, 27-24, where Jefferson had 133 yards and a touchdown. And then the playoffs, why is it not like, okay, there we go. I wanted to kind of do that. Sorry if that's, okay, there we go. That should be better. And then in the playoffs, they lose 31-24, and Jefferson only has sorry, I almost said 100, 7 receptions for 47 yards and no touchdowns. So a very disappointing end to the Vikings season, and kind of a disappointing end to Justin Jefferson's season individually as well. But again, that's all behind us. Talking about like what can change this year, and a few things have actually changed on that Vikings offense. The first major change comes from Dalvin Cook actually being released by the Vikings and having Alexander Mattison step in as that running back 1 on the team. The second big change, that Adam Thielen was finally let go, and he's now in Carolina, and they actually drafted Jordan Addison. So it's actually a bit of a change there on the Vikings offense. Hawkinson is also relatively new since they got him midway through the season last year. We have Kirk Cousins, Alexander Mattison, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, and TJ Hawkinson. I think something that is very interesting with this dynamic is that Adam Thielen was quite the proven weapon in the NFL. Yes, he's older, but he could still play, and teams knew that. He was still hard to cover, and he still made plays. Jordan Addison, I think, will be good, but he is still, largely unknown what he's actually capable of doing. So I think it's going to kind of depend on how Kirk incorporates him into that offense. KJ Osborne, I think, is actually a super underrated receiver across the entire league, not just on the Vikings, but I think he's actually pretty good and could be probably a wide receiver 2 on, I wouldn't say most teams, but definitely other teams. But on the Vikings, he probably will be the wide receiver 3 below Jordan Addison. But that leaves Justin Jefferson. And I think without Adam Thielen on that roster, Jefferson is now by far the most proven receiver. And obviously, defenses are going to recognize that and make sure to double team him and always find him on the field, especially without Adam Thielen there. But the thing is that I think Jordan Addison will quickly establish himself as a major threat, which is going to make covering Justin Jefferson a lot harder because your defense can be spread quite thin when it comes to locking up these receivers. Now, a defense can kind of scheme and scout all they want, but Justin Jefferson is one of those players that are going to put up numbers regardless. You have to kind of contain him because very, very seldom do you actually restrict him from doing anything. Darius Slay did do a great job of that this previous year whenever the Eagles and Vikings played. But Justin Jefferson now is, like I said, kind of the guy defense you're going to be looking at until anyone else actually establishes themselves. And like I'm saying, I think KJ Osborne can definitely put up numbers, but not kind of bring the defense over. But I think that's what Jordan Addison can do. And by adding him, it's going to be very hard to cover these guys, kind of like how it is in Cincinnati with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd, because they are all proven receivers and they are all quite deadly all over the field. And I think if that works out for the Vikings, it's actually going to help free up Justin Jefferson because, yes, he's going to be double teamed and he's always going to have the number one corner on him, but it's still going to have to change the way safeties react when they see Addison cutting a certain way or when they see Jefferson moving a certain way because it makes you have to decide. And not every time they're going to have to be able to commit to Jefferson. They might have to commit to Addison other times. So I think that Jordan Addison, while Adam Thielen is a great receiver and has had an incredible career, especially for being undrafted, I think Addison can develop to be more of a threat than Adam Thielen was. I think Addison's ceiling is higher than Thielen's, or I guess what Thielen's once was, I should say. And I think Justin Jefferson can actually capitalize off that with defenses having to try to adjust to Jordan Addison as well. So when talking about 2,000 yards, that's not something you really take lightly. That's quite the goal for anyone to have as a receiver, especially for someone to kind of say like I'm doing right now that I think that's very possible because that's not really done. That's not really a thing. So for someone to come this close last year, like Cooper Kupp did a few years ago, like Jefferson did last year, like Tyreek Hill plans to do this year. A lot goes into it, and I want to actually look at the Vikings schedule for this year and kind of get a look at some of the guys Jefferson is going to be going up against, like Darius Slay and the Eagles again, once again on primetime football, or I guess Thursday Night Football. Honestly, I wouldn't expect a whole lot from Jefferson that game. Slay really seems to lock up Justin Jefferson, so I'm not sure what to expect that game. But Carolina, I'm going to be real. I love J.C. Horn. If he's not healthy that game, Jefferson's going to probably put up over 150 receiving yards on the Panthers. I would not be surprised in the slightest. The Chiefs, I think Jefferson can definitely tear up. He can definitely tear up the Bears. The 49ers will be tough with how good that defense is. Green Bay's always a fight. Should be really, really exciting. Atlanta will be A.J. Terrell versus Justin Jefferson. I think that'll be a good showdown. I'm not sure how that's really going to go, but again, that's still a great corner across the entire league. A.J. Terrell's a great corner. And then, of course, against New Orleans, Marshawn Lattimore. I honestly don't know much of a history between Jefferson and Lattimore, who usually wins those fights. But Denver is, I think, going to be a highlight. That's going to be Pat Surtain versus Justin Jefferson. And that should be a fun one. I think Jefferson's going to win some reps, but I think Surtain's also going to win some reps. It should be really exciting to see them go head-to-head that game, especially on Sunday Night Football. It should be very, very interesting. You have Chicago again. You have the Raiders. You have Cincinnati. Honestly, I'm not really sure how well the Bengals are going to be able to stop him, especially if they're losing both of their starting safeties. That young kind of safety secondary is going to have some trouble trying to watch Justin Jefferson for sure. And then, of course, the Detroit Lions, who Jefferson actually put up some pretty good numbers against last year. Not sure that's going to change this year. I'm sure he does the exact same thing. And then, of course, at the bottom there is Green Bay again. Now, what's weird to talk like this, it's like, you know, usually you can't just go into a game and say, oh, he's going to put up 100 receiving yards that game. Because it's so, I mean, you never know what the receiver's going to do, what the quarterback's going to do, how the offense is going to fit together that game. But that's just how good Justin Jefferson is that you can look at his game logs last year. Like I said, he put up 10 100-yard receiving games, one of which was 98 yards. So you could just round up, we'll say 11. I mean, that is really, really, really ridiculous numbers. And when you look at that, which I think I actually exited out of, so that was probably my fault there. But when you look at that, I mean, these are defenses that are pretty good. This isn't bad. I mean, this is Green Bay that he put up 184 receiving yards on. This is, I mean, Dallas, but that game was, pretty bad. Buffalo, though, that's not a bad defense at all. They were a little injured, but still 193 receiving yards. And then, again, there's, I guess the Lions, not a great defense, but I think their defense is good. Secondary is not, and that's why I put those numbers. But the Patriots, that's a phenomenal defense. 139 receiving yards and a touchdown. Like, that is not easy to do. The Jets, That was a tough one. He got a touchdown, didn't break 100 yards, but he did get a touchdown. So, again, these are proven secondaries, proven corners that Justin Jefferson is able to go up against and still put up ridiculous numbers week in and week out. And I don't think that stops this year. I think, if anything, he can build off of it and seriously break 2,000 yards. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. So, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you guys are new around here. We're continuing this player series. We should be done, I think, in 2 days. And then we're doing our team prediction videos. I'm super excited to do those. Way more in depth on both the offense and the defense and coaching and schedule, all that kind of stuff. We do NFL tier list videos as well and NFL quiz videos. I also do Madden videos, but those are paused until August 15th when Madden 24 drops. Whenever that comes out, I'll be doing both Madden and NFL content. So thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.